The morning at New Hope Orphanage started like any other. Jack Bennett walked through the halls with a clipboard, checking off his daily tasks. The old building in rural Montana housed 53 children, from toddlers to teenagers. Most had lost their parents in the climate disasters of the 2030s. Some came from war zones. All of them found safety here. Jack looked out the window at the clear blue sky. It was Tuesday, which meant outdoor science lessons with Ms. Lily Carter. The children loved her experiments. She made learning fun even for kids who had seen too much sadness. "Mr. Bennett, come see what we made," a small voice called from the playground. Jack smiled and walked outside. Daniel Wright, a quiet 12-year-old who rarely spoke, held up a model of the solar system. "That's excellent work, Daniel," Jack said, kneeling to examine the planets. The boy had been at New Hope for just 6 months after losing his family in the Chicago floods. His progress was remarkable. Lily Carter approached with her signature, bright smile. "Daniel has a gift for space science. He might work for NASA someday." None of them knew that space itself would soon change everything. In Earth's orbit, Admiral William Nash stood on the bridge of the EDF Guardian, staring at the main screen with narrowed eyes. The unidentified vessels had appeared 3 hours ago. 7 massive ships, each at least 5 miles long, with strange purple lights pulsing along their hulls. "Any response to our communications?" Nash asked his communications officer. "No, sir. We've tried all frequencies, all known linguistic patterns. Nothing." Nash frowned. First contact protocols were clear. Establish communication, show peaceful intent, avoid provocative military positioning. Earth's United Defense Forces had pulled back to non-threatening distances while maintaining a protective screen around the planet. "Sir," a young lieutenant said, her voice tight with alarm, "one of the alien vessels is changing position." On screen, the smallest of the alien ships broke formation. It moved with impossible speed, dropping from high orbit toward the atmosphere. "Track it," Nash ordered. "Where is it headed?" The tracking officer typed frantically. "North American continent, Montana region. Sir, it's descending rapidly." "Montana," Nash repeated. "There are no strategic targets in—" He stopped, feeling a chill. "Get me a list of all facilities in that area." At New Hope Orphanage, the children were eating lunch when Lily Carter noticed the shadow. One moment the dining hall was bright with midday sun, the next it darkened as if a cloud had passed over. But this darkness didn't move. It stayed, growing deeper. Jack Bennett looked up from helping a young girl with her sandwich. "What the—" The sound came next. Not an explosion, but a high-pitched whine that made windows vibrate and children cover their ears. Jack rushed to the window. What he saw made his blood turn cold. A ship hovered above the orphanage grounds. Dark purple metal gleamed in the sun. It was oddly shaped, like a giant hand with fingers spread wide, each finger pointing downward. "Everyone, under the tables," Jack shouted. "Lily, emergency protocol." Children dropped to the floor as Lily began shepherding them toward the basement shelter. They had drilled for earthquakes and tornadoes, not aliens, but the principle was the same. Jack grabbed the emergency radio. "This is New Hope Orphanage. We have an unidentified aircraft above our facility. We need immediate, from the ship." 5 beams of intense light shot downward. Each struck a different part of the orphanage. The building shook. Plaster fell from the ceiling. "Faster!" Lily shouted to the children, pushing them toward the basement stairs. Daniel Wright looked back, his eyes wide with terror. He had seen this before. Not aliens, but disaster coming from above. He froze. Lily grabbed his hand. "Stay with me, Daniel." The second attack came 20 seconds after the first. This time the beams cut through the building like hot knives, through butter. Steel beams melted. Concrete floors collapsed. Jack Bennett was guiding the last group of young children when the ceiling above them began to crack. Without hesitation, he pushed the children forward and threw himself over them as tons of debris crashed down. In orbit, Admiral Nash watched in horror as live satellite feeds showed the attack. "Get our fighters there now," he roared, though he knew they would be too late. "Sir," his second-in-command said quietly, "that's an orphanage." Nash's face went white. "What?" New Hope Orphanage, founded 2031. Current population 53 children, 8 staff members. For a moment, the bridge was absolutely silent. Then Nash spoke, his voice dangerously calm. Contact the United Earth Council, all of them, now. At the orphanage, the attack lasted exactly 97 seconds. When the alien ship rose back into the sky, more than half the building was gone. Smoke rose from the ruins. Emergency sirens wailed in the distance. Lily Carter pulled herself from under a fallen bookshelf. Her left arm hung at an awkward angle. Broken. Blood trickled from a cut on her forehead. She looked around in stunned silence. "Help," a small voice called. "Please help." Lily stumbled toward the sound. Daniel Wright was trapped beneath a fallen beam, but alive. Around him, Lily could see still forms under debris. Too still. "I'm here, Daniel," she said, her voice breaking. "I'm here." She managed to shift the beam just enough for the boy to crawl free. Together, they made their way outside as the first emergency vehicles arrived. A paramedic rushed to them. "Are there others?" Lily looked back at the shattered building. 52 children, 8 adults. She swallowed hard. "We were the closest to the exit when it hit." The paramedic's face fell, but he got to work treating Lily's arm and Daniel's cuts. More emergency workers rushed into the ruins, but hope faded with each passing minute. In Washington, D.C., President Samantha Rogers sat in the Situation Room surrounded by her advisors. The screens showed the smoking ruins of New Hope Orphanage from multiple angles. 47 children confirmed dead, the Defense Secretary reported, his voice breaking. 6 adults, including the director, Jack Bennett. The president's hands tightened into fists. And the aliens? Returned to their fleet in orbit. No further movement. President Rogers stood. "Get me a direct line to every world leader. Now." "Madam President," her chief of staff said, "protocol for first contact situations calls for measured response even in—" "They targeted children." Rogers cut him off. "Defenseless children. This wasn't a misunderstanding or an accident. The ship passed over military bases, power plants, and cities to hit an orphanage in rural Montana." The room fell silent. "This ends only one way now," Rogers continued. "Get me Admiral Nash." As night fell over Montana, Lily Carter sat beside Daniel Wright's hospital bed. The boy stared at the ceiling, saying nothing. Outside the window, they could see military vehicles moving through the streets. In the distance, the lights of aircraft filled the sky as every available plane was recalled to nearby bases. On television screens across the planet, the image was the same: the smoking ruins of New Hope Orphanage. Below it, 2 words appeared, in dozens of languages: "Never again." In Earth's orbit, Admiral William Nash received his new orders directly from the United Earth Council. For the first time in history, all nations had voted unanimously on a military action. The order was simple: respond with overwhelming force. Nash looked at the alien fleet through the viewport. "So you wanted to see what humans are capable of," he murmured. "You're about to find out." The world changed in 24 hours. Nations that had fought for centuries now stood together. Weapons that had been aimed at each other now pointed to the stars. President Samantha Rogers addressed the emergency session of the United Nations with a voice that was calm, but hard as steel. "They chose an orphanage," she said. "Not a military base, not a government building. They killed children who had already lost everything once. They have shown us who they are. Now we will show them who we are." No one objected. No one called for peace talks. The images of the ruined orphanage played on screens behind her. Daniel Wright's small face, bandaged and solemn, had become the symbol of humanity's resolve. Admiral William Nash stood in the Pentagon's largest planning room. Maps and diagrams covered every surface. Military officers from Russia, China, India, the European Union, and 30 other nations worked side by side. No one mentioned old grudges or borders. "The aliens have superior technology," Nash said, pointing to images of the 7 massive ships, "but they've made 2 critical mistakes. First, they attacked without understanding their enemy. Second, they gave us time to prepare." How long until they attack again? Asked General Frank Harrison, head of Earth's ground forces. Unknown. There you weigh. Ships haven't moved since the Orphanage attack. They may be studying our response or waiting for us to beg for mercy. Nash's mouth tightened. They'll be disappointed. In a secured lab beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Eleanor West hunched over a microscope. The sample came from residue left by the alien beams. 20 scientists worked around her, sharing data in real time with labs in Tokyo, London, and Beijing. The energy signature is unlike anything we've seen, Dr. West said, rubbing her tired eyes. But it's not magic, it's physics. If we can understand it, we can defend against it, maybe even use it. She looked at the clock. 36 hours without sleep. On her computer, a photo of her niece who had died at New Hope Orphanage kept her focused. Lily Carter sat beside Daniel Wright's hospital bed. The boy had barely spoken since the attack. Doctors worried about trauma. Lily understood. She hadn't said much either. A nurse entered with a tablet. "Ms. Carter?" Admiral Nash is asking. "To speak with both of you." Lily looked surprised but nodded. The nurse set up the tablet. Admiral Nash's face appeared on the screen, lines of exhaustion visible. "Ms. Carter, Daniel, thank you for speaking with me. I know this is difficult." Daniel looked at the screen, but said nothing. "The aliens haven't communicated," Nash continued. "We don't know why they attacked the orphanage. Did you notice anything unusual before or during the attack? Anything that might help us understand?" Lily started to shake her head, but Daniel spoke suddenly. "They watched first," he said quietly. Nash and Lily both looked at him in surprise. "What do you mean, Daniel?" Lily asked gently. "Before the ship came down, something small was in the sky during morning recess, like a floating ball. Mr. Bennett saw it too. He thought it was a weather balloon." Nash's expression changed. "A scout drone. They observed before attacking." He typed something off screen. "This is important information, Daniel." "Thank you." After the call ended, Lily looked at Daniel. "You're very brave." Daniel shook his head. "I'm scared. But Mr. Bennett always said being brave means doing what's right even when you're scared." Lily blinked back tears. He was a wise man. Across the planet, factories that had made cars now built tank components. Shipyards constructed battle vessels. The International Space Station became a military command center. Retired soldiers returned to service. New recruits lined up outside. Military bases. President Rogers met with Admiral Nash and the Joint Chiefs in the White House bunker. "The orphanage protocol is fully implemented," she said. "Every resource redirected to defense and counterattack." Nash nodded. "We've confirmed scout drones at 12 other locations before the orphanage attack. All were civilian sites, schools, hospitals, community centers. They were looking for the most vulnerable," General Harrison said darkly. "Dr. West has made progress," Nash continued. "The alien technology uses principles we can understand, even replicate with modifications. We're adapting our weapons now." "How soon can we strike back?" Rogers asked. 3 days for a limited response. 2 weeks for the full assault force." Rogers looked at the latest casualty list from the orphanage. Another child had died from injuries overnight. "Make it 1 week," she said. "Whatever it takes." In orbit, the alien ships remained motionless. No communication, no further attacks. Earth's remaining defense satellites recorded everything. Searching for weaknesses. Dr. West's breakthrough came 50 hours after the attack. She stumbled into the main lab, waving data sheets. "It's their hull composition," she shouted to her surprised colleagues. 20 minutes later, she briefed Admiral Nash via secure video. "The purple metal isn't just structural, it's part of their weapons system. It channels energy in specific frequencies. But this creates a vulnerability. Hit it with the exact opposite frequency and it disrupts their entire system," Nash finished. "Exactly. We can modify our existing missiles. It won't destroy their ships outright, but it will disable their main weapons temporarily. Long enough to get our forces close. Nash allowed himself the first genuine smile since the crisis began. "Doctor, you've just given humanity a fighting chance." The alien ships finally moved on the 5th day. 2 smaller vessels broke formation and descended toward Earth. Their target, Beijing, the most populated city on the planet. They never made it to the atmosphere. Earth's first modified missiles launched from submarines in the Pacific. When they struck the alien hulls, the purple lights flickered and died. The ships didn't explode but drifted helplessly. Special forces and experimental space vehicles reached the disabled ships within hours. They found no survivors. The aliens had activated some kind of self-destruct that killed the crews but preserved the technology. "They chose death over capture," Nash reported to President Rogers. "But they left us their ships intact. Our teams are already reverse engineering their technology." "And the remaining alien vessels?" Rogers asked, retreating to a higher orbit. "They seem surprised." Rogers nodded grimly. "Good, let's keep surprising them." Daniel Wright watched the news from his hospital room. The reporters talked about humanity's first victory. Lily sat beside him, her arm in a cast, but her eyes brighter than they had been days ago. "Will it be over soon?" Daniel asked. Lily considered, sugar-coating her answer, then decided against it. Daniel had earned the truth. "No, this is just the beginning." Daniel nodded. He looked down at the small model solar system he had been building in art therapy. Earth was at the center, not the sun. Around it, he had placed small figures. The hospital staff, Lily, Admiral Nash, and others fighting to protect humanity. "Mr. Bennett once told me that family doesn't give up on family," Daniel said quietly. "He said that's what made the orphanage special. We weren't just kids without parents. We were kids with 52 brothers and sisters." "That's right," Lily said, her voice thick with emotion. "Now we have billions." Daniel placed the final figure in his model, himself. The aliens don't understand what that means yet, but they will. 2 weeks after the orphanage attack, humanity launched its first major offensive. The EDF Vengeance led a fleet of 200 ships toward the alien vessels. Captain Ryan Blackwood stood on the bridge, watching the distance close on the main screen. "All ships report ready, Captain," said Lieutenant Olivia Martinez from the tactical station. She had spent every waking hour studying the alien ship's weaknesses. "Remember why we're here," Blackwood said to his crew. On every ship in the fleet, a picture of the New Hope orphanage hung where all could see it. Some had added photos of Daniel Wright, the boy who had survived and now represented all they were fighting for. The 5 remaining alien ships formed a defensive pattern. They were twice the size of Earth's largest vessel and likely carried weapons humans had never seen. But Earth had surprise on its side and rage. "They're charging weapons," Martinez reported. Blackwood nodded. "Deploy countermeasures. Begin attack pattern Alpha." The human fleet split into 3 groups, approaching from different vectors. Dr. West frequency disruptors fired first, striking the lead alien ship. Its purple lights flickered but didn't die completely. "They've adapted," Martinez said. "The disruption is only partial." "As expected," Blackwood replied. "Move to Phase 2. The smaller, faster Earth ships darted between the alien vessels, firing, precisely at the weak points identified from the captured ships. The aliens responded with energy beams that sliced through 3 human vessels in seconds. Blackwood gripped his chair as the Vengeance shook from a near miss. "Casualties?" "The Beijing, Moscow, and Cairo are gone," Martinez said grimly. But their sacrifice allowed the stealth team to reach the target. On the alien flagship, Commander Peter Harper and his team of 12 specialists worked quickly. They had trained for this mission using the captured ships. Their specially designed suits protected them from the alien atmosphere as they moved through the massive vessel. "We're at the central junction," Harper reported through his secure comm. "Beginning data extraction." His tech specialist placed devices on the alien computers. Earth scientists had cracked enough of the alien language to create translation tools. Information began flowing back to the human fleet. 27% complete, the specialist reported. "They've detected us. Security systems activating." Harper unhooked a compact weapon from his belt. "Keep going. We'll hold them off." The first aliens they had seen in person rounded the corner. They stood 7 feet tall with 4 arms and gray-purple skin. Their eyes were large and completely black. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. "Remember the orphanage," Harper said, and opened fire. In orbit around Earth, Admiral Nash monitored the battle from his command center. He had wanted to lead the attack personally, but President Rogers had refused. He was too valuable to risk in the first wave. "Sir, we're receiving data from Commander Harper's team," a communications officer reported. "Send it to Dr. West immediately," Nash ordered. Minutes turned to hours. The battle raged. Human ships fell, but they took terrible toll on the alien fleet. One alien vessel exploded in a burst of purple flame. Another drifted powerless. "Harper's team is compromised," Nash's second-in-command reported. "They've triggered their final protocol." Nash closed his eyes briefly. "Understood." On the alien flagship, Commander Harper stood amid the bodies of his team and dozens of aliens. Only he and one specialist remained alive, both wounded. Alien reinforcements were coming. "Upload complete," the specialist said weakly. Harper nodded and activated his final device. For Earth. The explosion tore through the alien flagship, not enough to destroy it completely but devastating its command center. In the chaos, Captain Blackwood saw their opportunity. "All ships converge on the flagship. Hit it with everything we have." The human fleet swarmed the damaged vessel. Missiles and energy weapons punched through its weakened hull. The massive ship began to break apart. "The remaining alien vessels are retreating," Martinez reported, disbelief in her voice. "They're jumping to some kind of faster-than-light travel." Blackwood watched as the enemy ships vanished. "Calculate their trajectory from the jump signature." Martinez worked her console. "Based on the direction, they appear to be heading to a star system about 20 light-years from here." "Their home system?" "Possibly, or a colony. The data from Harper's team should tell us." Blackwood nodded. "Send word to Earth. First victory achieved, but at high cost. Of the 200 ships that had attacked, only 123 returned. Thousands of crew members had been lost, but they had destroyed 2 alien vessels and severely damaged another. More importantly, they had secured vital intelligence. Dr. West didn't sleep for 3 days as she analyzed the stolen alien data. When she finally briefed Admiral Nash and President Rogers, her eyes were red but triumphant. "We know who they are now," she said. "They call themselves the Vrelak. They've conquered 3 other civilizations before finding Earth." "Why attack? An orphanage?" President Rogers asked the question everyone wanted answered. Dr. West's expression darkened. It was deliberate. In their culture, they believe that a species' will to fight is measured by how they protect their most vulnerable. By attacking our orphaned children, they were testing us. "Testing us?" Nash's voice was dangerous. "Yes. In previous conquests, they attacked similar targets. When those civilizations sued for peace to prevent further attacks on civilians, the Vrelak knew they could be dominated." Rogers and Nash exchanged looks of cold fury. "They expected us to beg for terms," Nash said. "Instead, we bloodied their nose." "There's more," Dr. West continued. "We have the location of their homeworld and all their colony systems. We have their ship schematics, weapons specifications, and biological data. We know more about them than they know about us." "Then, we have our targets," Rogers said. "Prepare the next phase." At the hospital, Daniel Wright watched the news with Lily Carter. The victory was being celebrated worldwide, but the cost was not hidden. The names of the fallen scrolled across the screen. "They died to avenge us," Daniel said quietly. Lily nodded, "and to make sure it never happens again." A nurse entered with a message. "Ms. Carter, Admiral Nash is requesting that you both come to Washington. He says your knowledge of caring for vulnerable children may be important for the next phase." Daniel looked confused. "What can I do to help?" Lily considered this. "The Admiral believes every perspective matters in this fight. Even yours. Especially yours." Daniel looked down at his hands, then back at the news showing the battle footage. "I want the fighting to stop, but not before they understand what they did wrong." "That's a very grown-up way to think about it," Lily said. I had to grow up fast, Daniel replied. We all did. As they packed to leave for Washington, neither noticed the small news item at the bottom of the screen. Alien signals detected, attempting communication for the first time since the attack. But it was too late for words. Earth had already decided on its answer. 3 months passed. Earth changed in ways no one could have imagined before the Orphanage attack. The entire planet now worked as one giant war machine. Old enemies shared technology and resources. Nations that once guarded their secrets now pooled their knowledge. Admiral William Nash stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the EDF Retribution. It was twice the size of any previous Earth vessel, built with technology reverse-engineered from the captured alien ships. A fleet of 500 similar ships surrounded him, prepared for the next phase of humanity's response. All systems, check complete, Admiral, his second-in-command reported. The fleet is ready. Nash nodded. On his personal screen, he looked at the image that drove him forward, the ruins of New Hope Orphanage. Begin jump sequence. Target, Vrelak Colony System 1. The jump technology was new, adapted from the alien ships. It allowed human vessels to travel faster than light, crossing 20 light-years in moments. The sensation made most of the crew dizzy for a few seconds. When they emerged, a planet with 2 moons hung before them. Dozens of Vrelak ships orbited it. They were caught completely by surprise. They didn't expect us to reverse-engineer their jump technology so quickly, Nash said. All ships commence attack. On the surface of the Vrelak colony world, General Frank Harrison led the ground assault. 10,000 soldiers dropped from orbit in special landing craft. They wore battlesuits enhanced with alien technology, making them stronger and faster. Remember our mission, Harrison told his troops as they approached the surface. Disable their military infrastructure, secure their technology centers, and locate any enslaved species. The Vrelak fought back fiercely. Their weapons cut through the human ranks. But for every soldier who fell, 2 more took their place. The rage of Earth drove them forward. Harrison's team breached the main government building. Inside, they found something unexpected. Members of another alien race, clearly prisoners. They were small, with pale blue skin and 4 eyes. We are the Linar, one of them said, using a translator device. The Vrelak conquered our world 50 years ago. Are you here to free us? Harrison nodded. Earth stands against those who prey on the vulnerable. The Linar looked at each other with hope. There are others. The Vrelak have 3 subject species. We can help you find them. Back in Earth orbit, Daniel Wright sat in a classroom unlike any other. At 14, he was the youngest person ever admitted to the new Space Defense Academy. 20 other orphans from around the world joined him. All had lost family to disasters or conflicts. All had been chosen for their unique perspectives, the HFY. Vrelak target the vulnerable because they don't understand what that teaches us, their instructor said. Daniel, can you explain to the class? Daniel stood. In the past months, he had grown taller, stronger. The quiet boy from the orphanage now spoke with confidence. When you lose everything, he said, you learn what matters most. You learn to value what remains. And you learn that you never want anyone else to feel that pain. The instructor nodded. That's why this class exists. The Vrelak thought attacking an orphanage would weaken us. Instead, it gave us our greatest strength, perspective. Daniel looked out the window at the ships being built in Earth orbit. One of them would be his someday. He had already begun pilot training. Dr. Eleanor West worked in her lab beneath the Rocky Mountains. The Vrelak biological samples had yielded important discoveries. She looked through her microscope at the purple cells. The final test is complete, she told her team. The countermeasure works on their biology, but has no effect on Earth life or the Linar samples. One of her assistants looked troubled. It will kill all of them. Women, children, everyone. Dr. West removed her glasses. The memory of her niece's small body being pulled from the orphanage rubble flashed in her mind. But she shook her head. No. This isn't who we are. The countermeasure targets their military biology, the enhancements all their soldiers receive. Their civilians will be spared. In Washington, President Rogers met with Lily Carter. The former orphanage worker now led a team designing protocols for dealing with freed species and Vrelak civilians. Admiral Nash reports we've liberated 3 colony worlds, Rogers said. The Linar, the Zenthari, and the Pax have all joined our cause. They're providing intelligence on the remaining Vrelak strongholds. Lily nodded. My team has established refugee centers on Mars for the displaced. The Linar children are particularly traumatized. They were separated from their families for generations. Like our orphans, Rogers noted. Yes. That's why Daniel and the other Academy students visit them regularly. They understand loss in a way few others can. Rogers looked out the window at the changed world. The Vrelak are sending peace offers daily now. They've promised reparations. They claim the orphanage was a military miscalculation. And our response? Lily asked, though she knew the answer. The same as always. Rogers handed her a tablet showing the official message sent to all Vrelak peace envoys. A single image of the orphanage ruins with the words, "Remember New Hope." Beneath it, in deep space, the human fleet approached another Vrelak world. This one was larger, more heavily defended, a major military base. Captain Ryan Blackwood, now commanding the EDF Vengeance II, led the attack wing. They've improved their defenses, Lieutenant Olivia Martinez reported. Our frequency disruptors aren't as effective, Blackwood nodded. As expected, switch to the new quantum weapons. The battle was harder than previous engagements. The Vrelak fought with desperation now. They understood what was happening. Systematic dismantling of their empire. A message came through from the Vrelak commander. For the first time they were attempting to communicate during battle. Humans, this is War Leader Krenvos. You have proven your strength. We acknowledge your right to exist as equals. We offer full surrender of this base in exchange for peace talks. Blackwood looked at the message for a long moment. Then he opened a channel to Admiral Nash. Sir, the Vrelak commander is offering surrender. Nash's face was grim on the screen. What are your losses? 23 ships, approximately 9,000 personnel. Nash closed his eyes briefly. Accept their surrender, secure their weapons and technology, but remind them, this isn't peace. This is a pause. Blackwood turned back to the communication screen. War Leader Krenvos, we accept your surrender under strict terms, but know this, your empire will fall. One base at a time, one world at a time, until you feel what Earth felt. Until you understand what happens when you target those who cannot defend themselves. On the Vrelak homeworld, Supreme Leader Kazvan watched reports from across his crumbling empire. Colony after colony lost, fleet after fleet destroyed, and now, a new horror. Former subject species joining the humans, providing intelligence, even fighting alongside them. How did we miscalculate so badly? He asked his advisors. An old Vrelak scientist bowed his head. We judged them by the standards of other species we conquered. The attack on their care center for young was meant to demonstrate their vulnerability. Instead, it united them as nothing else could have. Kazvan looked at the images of Earth's advancing fleets. The planet that had seemed so primitive, so easy to intimidate, had transformed into an unstoppable force of vengeance. Prepare our final defense, he ordered, and send another peace delegation. Offer anything, technology, worlds, resources. His chief advisor looked doubtful. Will they accept? They must. The alternative is unthinkable. But as the Vrelak prepared their defenses, Earth's fleet grew closer, and aboard every ship in every classroom on every military base the same image hung, a ruined building in Montana and the memory of children who would never grow up. 1 year after the attack on New Hope Orphanage, the combined Earth fleet arrived at the Vrelak homeworld. Over 1,000 ships moved into position around the purple-blue planet. At the center of the formation, the EDF Retribution led the way. Admiral William Nash stood on the bridge, his face reflected in the viewport glass. Behind him, representatives from Earth and the 3 liberated species waited quietly. Lily Carter stood among them, no longer just an orphanage worker, but now the head of the Interspecies Relations Office. They're hailing us, the communications officer reported. Nash nodded. On screen, Supreme Leader Kazvan appeared on the main display. His forearms were held in what humans now knew was a gesture of submission. His black eyes showed an emotion Nash had learned to recognize: fear. Earth Fleet, Kazvan said through the translator, we offer complete and unconditional surrender. We acknowledge our grave error in attacking your care center. We will accept any punishment except the destruction of our civilization. Nash stared at the alien leader. For a year he had dreamed of this moment, the chance to bring final justice for the children of New Hope. You misunderstand, Nash said. This isn't a negotiation. Your surrender is noted but irrelevant. Your military will be dismantled, your weapons destroyed, your leadership removed. Kazvan's skin paled. And our people? Our civilians? Nash turned to Lily Carter, who stepped forward. Unlike you, she said, we do not target the innocent. Your civilians will be protected. Your children will be educated about your crimes, so they never repeat them. Another communication channel opened. A young officer appeared on a secondary screen. Admiral Lieutenant Daniel Wright reporting from Squadron 7. We've secured the orbital defense platforms. The path to the surface is clear. Nash nodded, feeling a surge of pride. The boy from the orphanage was now 16, the youngest combat pilot in Earth's fleet. He had earned his place through determination and skill. Proceed with the landing, Lieutenant Wright, Nash ordered. Remember your training. Daniel's face showed a complex mix of emotions, the sadness that never fully left, but also purpose, and perhaps a touch of peace. Yes, sir, for New Hope. On Nay. The Vrelak homeworld panic spread through the capital city. Their mighty fleet had been reduced to a handful of vessels. Their colonies were occupied. Their subject species had turned against them. And now, Earth's vengeful armada filled their skies. Supreme Leader Kazvan stood in his palace, watching landing craft descend toward the central government district. His advisors had fled. His guards had abandoned their posts. Only his oldest, counselor, remained. How did we fail to understand them? Kazvan asked quietly. The old counselor sighed. We judged them by their divisions, their conflicts with each other. We thought targeting their orphans would show their weakness. Instead, it revealed their greatest strength. Which is unity in the face of cruelty, protection of the innocent, and a willingness to pursue justice to the ends of the galaxy. The palace doors opened. General Frank Harrison entered with a squad of soldiers. Behind them came representatives of the Linar, Zenthari, and Pax, species the Vrelak had conquered and enslaved for generations. Supreme Leader Kazvan, Harrison said formally, by the authority of the United Earth Government and the Alliance of Free Worlds, you are removed from power. Kazvan lowered his head. What happens now? A Linar representative stepped forward. Now you learn what it means to be governed by those who understand justice. In orbit, Lily Carter prepared to board a shuttle to the surface. A message from Earth caught her attention. Images of the memorial being built on the site of New Hope Orphanage. A garden surrounded a monument listing every child and staff member lost in the attack. At its center stood a statue showing an adult hand reaching down to a child's hand, fingers almost touching. Daniel Wright's shuttle landed near hers at the spaceport. He had grown taller in the past year, his young face showing maturity beyond his years. He wore a pilot's uniform with lieutenant insignia. Ms. Carter, he said with a small smile. Or should I call you Ambassador Carter now? I'm still just Lily to you, Daniel, she replied, embracing him. How does it feel to be here? Daniel looked at the alien city spreading before them, confusing. I thought I would feel happy, or at least satisfied, but it doesn't bring them back. Lily finished gently. No. Nothing will. He straightened his shoulders. But what we do next might give their deaths meaning. Together they joined Admiral Nash and General Harrison at the ceremonial transfer of power. The Vrelak leadership stood on one side, the Earth and Allied representatives on the other. Between them, a document that would shape the future of multiple worlds. The terms are non-negotiable, Nash stated. Complete demilitarization, reparations to Earth and all former subject worlds, Truth education about your empire's crimes. Kazvan signed the document with a trembling hand. And in return? Nash's face remained hard. Your civilians live. Your culture survives, though changed. Your children grow up in peace. As the ceremony concluded, Daniel walked through the alien capital. Buildings with strange angles and purple lights looked both beautiful and threatening. An alien child watched him from a doorway, its 4 eyes wide with curiosity and fear. Daniel stopped. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small object, a toy soldier Jack Bennett had given him on his first day at New Hope. He held it out to the alien child. The young Vrelak hesitated, then slowly approached. It took the toy with one of its 4 hands, examining it carefully. We were both pawns, Daniel said, though he knew the child couldn't understand his words. But now we can both choose. That evening, Earth's leadership gathered on the EDF Retribution. President Rogers joined by hologram from Washington. The mood was solemn rather than celebratory. Is it enough? Rogers asked. Will it prevent this from happening again? Admiral Nash looked out at the stars. The Vrelak have been neutralized. Their former subjects are free. Their technology now serves the Alliance. But that wasn't my question. Rogers persisted. Lily Carter spoke up. No single action can guarantee lasting peace. But what we've created here, an alliance of different species united by respect for the innocent, that's a beginning. Daniel, standing quietly at the back of the room, stepped forward. Mr. Bennett used to tell us that the measure of justice isn't in punishment, but in change. The Vrelak have changed. We've changed. The galaxy has changed. Nash nodded slowly. Out of tragedy, something new emerged. Not just vengeance, but a community of worlds protecting each other. 1 year later, Daniel Wright stood at the New Hope Memorial on Earth. The garden bloomed around him. Names carved in stone reminded visitors of the cost that had been paid. A small group of alien children, Linar, Zenthari, Pax, and even a few young Vrelak, followed a human teacher through the EU Memorial. They were part of the first interspecies exchange program, created by the Alliance of Free Worlds. As they passed Daniel, one of the Vrelak children stopped, looking at him with recognition. You're the one who gave me the toy soldier, the child said in careful English. Daniel smiled. You remember? I still have it. My parents told me what happened here. Why humans fought so hard. Daniel knelt to meet the child's 4 eyes. And what did you learn? The young Vrelak looked at the memorial, then back at Daniel. Never target the innocent, and never underestimate those who protect them. Daniel nodded. That's a good start. Above them, Alliance ships patrolled peacefully. The stars were no longer just points of light, but places where friends and allies lived. And at each border of human space, a simple message was broadcast in all known languages. We protect our own. Remember New Hope.